Hi, BookTube. So somehow it's already the middle of June. So I don't know how that happened. I thought I would talk about some of the books I've read this month and like basically like the highlights, my favorites so far. I'm not going to talk about all of the books I've read. I've been reading lots of Westerns and I've been intermingling that with mysteries and YA. I've read any children's book. Yeah, just a variety of things, but mostly focused on Westerns, and that will reflect in my favorites so far of this month. So yeah, let's get right into it. The first one here is, and this is like in order in which I've read them, The Oxbow Incident by Walter Van Tilburg Clark. My book didn't have this cover. I have the Library of America edition. But I was picking covers to show you on the tablet. I had to go with this one. Let's see. And I got a new tablet, a new iPad, so I'm happy to show that off. I got it like over the weekend. Anyway, so diverting topics here. So I wanted a bigger screen to read comics and manga. I don't read a lot of ebooks on the tablet, only if I like have to, like if they're, because I read mainly on the Libby app. So sometimes some of the ebooks are only available through Libby and they can't be sent to your Kindle. And so if I'm like forced to, if I can't get it, and that's when I will go and see if it's available like on Amazon, and if not, then I will like force myself, like I said, to read it on the tablet. I don't mind it so much if it's like once in a blue moon, like once every 2 or 3, 4 months. But if it was like all the time, then it would get annoying because I work on a computer all day, so in a way. So yeah, I got it mainly for comics, and so it could hopefully give me like some motivation to read more comics. So I kind of like gotten away from that in a sense, because I used to read them like a couple times a week, and then now I'm down to a couple times a month. So I would like to, pick that up like every like Wednesday, and maybe on the weekend, something like that would be nice. Anyway, so let's get back to talking about this one. Like I said, this is a book that is in the collection of the Westerns, like classic Westerns from Library of America edition, like from the 40s and 50s. And I'm just reading them in order in the binder. Like there's 4 stories, I'm reading one each week. So this one it's all about like the morals of people, and it really reminded me of Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, because it's like the majority rule kind of thing, where they're all going in to like persecute, like get like a posse together and persecute someone that without giving them the benefit of the doubt, without going to trial and really hearing what they're saying, they're just assuming that this person is guilty. And so there's a couple people that are like strongly vocal about this, and so the whole like group of them, just go head forward with that, and without questioning the majority. And what's interesting in this is that the main character is really a side character. He doesn't have much. He doesn't really move the story along. He's for sure an observer of it, and he's not like being a hero of the story with like objecting or speaking up at all. And he's so yeah, that was an interesting take, I thought, on the Western. The next one is Laughing Boy, a Navajo Love Story by Oliver Lafargue. And this one is all about, it's a love story. And so it's all about the Laughing Boy grew up in like the Native American culture, whereas his love interest, Slim Girl, she grew up like the American tradition. And so when they meet at a ceremony, Laughing Boy is for sure interested in her, and like kind of like mysterious person, and he gets involved with her, and she like takes him away from his culture and his tribe, and they're really remote and isolated, and he starts like getting used to her way of doing things, and over time he feels this pull to go back to his family, his culture, and all that, and so really sees the disparity between the two, and like there's a lot, there's conflict involved in there. And I thought it was a really interesting Western story. I hadn't heard about it until I started diving into Westerns for this month. And so, yeah, I'm happy to have found this one. And then I have not a Western one. This is Widowmaker by Paul Dorian. And it says Out in the Wild in Cold Blood. And this is part of the Mike Odich series. And I feel like every time I read one of these books, it's always like, it's always interesting to me. Because this is all like makes it, I feel like, into a book I want to talk about. When I do a monthly wrap up, and I can't remember what number this is, because I read like the last bit, like when I found this author, I read the last like I don't know, 5. And then I went back, and now I'm reading them in order, like the 1 through whatever. I think this is like book 8 or 9. Anyway, this follows a game warden in Maine. So that's mainly why I like it, why I like this series. Yeah, this like mystery thriller series because yeah, I like the setting and I like the atmosphere and learning about these little towns in the middle of nowhere. And he talks about at the end of the book in the acknowledgments how the towns that he based this on, 2 of them, I forgot Docker. Fable's sitting right beside me, but she's not in the camera frame. I'm like petting her. But yes, the 2 of the towns that that's mainly focused in this story are underwater now from a dam, and so in this book they talk about they bring up the topic of, you know, should this dam be built and everything. So he talks about how, you know, what if these towns were still there, and like a redemption for these towns that are underwater now. So anyway, this story follows Mike Bowditch, and he goes on, you know, these like solving this mystery, and he ends up Widowmaker. The reference to this is a ski lodge. It's like rundown ski lodge. So sorry, I'm like all over the place with telling you about this, but I don't give too much away because it's like a thriller mystery kind of thing. But I feel like it's a really strong cast of characters. You meet them at the beginning of the series, and they keep you know, popping up, going along. And Mike Bowditch, the main character, he for sure is, you know, growing in maturity, because in the first book he was making all sorts of rash decisions, and then so now he's talking about how, you know, when I was a rookie, I would have done this and then not think about it, and now I'm trying to be more conscientious and you know, really think through and not just go headstrong on things. So yeah, that's like a rambly wrap up in a way. I don't think I really wrapped it up at all, but yeah. Anyway, I have, and going back to westerns, Shane by Jack Schaefer. It says, if you read only one western in your life, this is the one. This is a quote by Roland Smith. And so this is another book, the second book in the Western Bind-Up, the Library of America edition. And this is following a family that is living, like they're farming, and one day Shane just rides into town and rides onto their ranch, and the family have him help around the farm, even though he obviously isn't a natural. He was in his past. You can kind of tell he wasn't a farmer. He can you know, do as much, if not more, than the father, who, you know, has done his whole life as a farmer. And there is this conflict with a rancher in the town that he is feeling confined by all this like fenced in farming rangeland. He wants the open graze, to open graze in his cattle, and so he wants to buy out all of these smaller, you know, lesser wealthy families and just buy it all. And so Shane really sticks up for the family that's taken him in, and yeah, like with fists and guns and everything. So yeah, it was a neat story, and I think for sure I'll reread it. It was very memorable to me. And then the last one here is Flannery O'Connor's Everything That Rises Must Converge. Yeah, Converge. Sorry, it looks like an S right here. I should know the title. It's like really white, so sorry for the glare here on this one. But I read last month, Eudora, my gosh. Eudora was in my mind, like that's probably the next short story collection I want to read anyway. Flannery O'Connor. I read a biography of Flannery O'Connor last month, and when it got to the part where it's talking about her death and leading up to her death, it talked a lot about this book, because this was the last collection that she put together. And the last story in here, Judgment Day, which I'm pretty sure was like the last short story she wrote. So you can obviously tell death was on her mind. And even though she was going through a really hard time, you know, leading up to her death, she was very sick. You can kind of tell it in this book for sure. But there's also so much humor in here, which is just stunning to me, how she can just, like, you know, laugh at it. Because, I mean, what can you do, really, when you're given that kind of diagnosis and things like that? You know, you can either be completely miserable, or you can be very productive and like, try to look on the bright side kind of thing and look at the humor of life, which I think is just a fantastic, you know, way of doing that. And so, yeah, that's for sure one reason why I want to talk about this book, this short story collection. But yeah, this is a reread. I don't know if I mentioned that. So it's a reread for me because I read her bind up of the complete stories years and years ago, and now I'm like, I have a Library of America. I have a Library of America edition of Flannery O'Connor's all of her short stories, plus like her letters, her prose, different things like that. And so I'm making my way through that. And so anyway, those are the highlights for the books I've read so far this month. I wanted to make it like a different way of doing wrap-ups instead of like going through all the books, because like some of the books, I don't know, I feel like don't need that much attention, or I just like, if I read a lot of books, it's kind of like a slog to go through all of them. So I'm just trying to reinvent to make it interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you, in a sense. So yeah, let me know what you think of that. Anyway, I will talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.